Hey, there he is.
How you doing?
Mr. Teik, what is going on, my friend?
A lot all over the place. A lot. How you going?
Oh, not bad. It's another day juggling projects. I'm sure you understand.
Yeah. It's the morning for you, yeah?
Yeah. Just woke up,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
got my coffee going, trying to trying to whack all the cobwebs out of my head. Oh, nice.
I got something better.
We got to drink what's appropriate for the time of day, and as I had
Absolutely.
a long day, right?
Well, as you know, I've been redecorating one of the bedrooms.
Yes.
So I'm getting a bit too old for this, up and down ladders and masking and cutting in. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I am so stiff.
Yes, that's one thing I've been feeling lately is on my days off, I wake up, it's bad. I probably lay in bed till about 10 or 11 in the morning. My back is so bad and just my body just aches from standing up all the time. And like
Oh.
when I have a day off, I just lay there. Like I feel like I could spend the whole day just laying there.
You need to go see a physio, my friend.
Yeah, probably. Is this normal for 38 to be, to have a body this broken?
I am 67 this year and feeling every bit of it.
You're doing well. You're still up. You're still, as active as ever. So I think my hat's off to you there, sir. Well, it's been a while since our last talk, and that was, I gotta say, one of the best talks I've had on my channel. I mean,
It was fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the audience sure loved it. I kept thinking, oh, I got to have this guy back on. And that's one thing I think, to kind of just soft break us into the talk is during my talk with Nick, I wanted to kind of pick his brain because there's not many people in the world that make boot content on the internet, and this is sort of a new era where anybody can make a channel, and
Sure.
so it's no longer up to like big entertainment, so to speak, to produce shows. We could produce content that we're interested in, and so it's no longer up to the big Netflix, the Hulu, Hollywood. We could do it. That's what I've always said from the get-go is I've always wanted to sort of push that message that if you're into something that you don't see enough coverage of on the internet, you can make it yourself. And that's what I've always tried to like inspire people to do. I just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit as to what a day in the life of Take looks like. So I know you have your consulting job, but
Yeah.
then how do you balance that with making videos? You're constantly cranking them out, man. You are one productive guy.
It's not easy, but it's my own business. So obviously I run my day. I tend to work 4 days a week now because I'm at that time of my life where I'm not chasing the holy dollar anymore.
Oh,
So the one day that I take off, I'm generally researching the boots that I'm looking at. So 4 days a week, I'm working full time, and I travel a lot, which makes it a bit more difficult.
mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to plan in advance. But if I'm at home on the one day, which is a Thursday, I will take that off. Although I go to the office because then I'll have a desk that I feel I can work at, and
Oh,
I'll research, I'll script 2, 3, 4 videos.
wow.
And then if I don't script, I just jot down the points that I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the Saturday is when I do my chores in the morning because I get up pretty early.
Oh,
I
wow.
do my chores in the morning, go for an exercise, and then I start setting up the study, which is what you see behind me.
Yeah.
Put on lights, video, and edit that day, and usually just upload 4 weeks, 3, 4 weeks in advance.
Wow.
So I try and have a schedule, and being an accountant, a CPA,
Yeah.
everything's on a spreadsheet, and I know when things are going on. So it's a cycle,
Yeah.
and I enjoy doing it, but at the same time, I guess I want to be professional at doing it. I don't want to do a video where I'm umming and awing and I'm not sure what to say next.
Yeah.
And also I want to make it regular because whatever I do, I'd really like to try and make it professional, and
Yes.
have a schedule for it.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Wow, that is quite industrious of you. You're way more organized than I am.
But
Like,
hey, you pop them out too.
oh yeah, I do, and that's where I'm starting to fumble. Is like I have friends, and I'm grateful for it. They're sending me boots to review and to sell on my website and stuff like that. And so it's like it's really good. It's beneficial to both parties. It's good because I get to review boots that I don't own, and I get to cover new ground. And then I sell the boots and I, send the money off to my friends and everybody wins. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's allowing me to sort of break out of my normal routine, but at the same time, I have just stacks now, and I'm getting to a point to where I can't, it's almost unmanageable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're gonna laugh at this. I've declared 2024 a no buy year. I just I just can't do it anymore. So I have enough boots. I have enough boots to review up until I think about the middle of the year that I
Wow.
haven't reviewed yet. And then the rest of the year, I'm going to do, long-term reviews of how they've been going for a year, 2 years, wear, and that sort of thing, which is a bit of a cheat because when you have, at the end of December, I bought my 110th boot.
Wow.
I'm expecting there's 3 that I bought at the end of last year that are still coming. There's the Parkhurst stitched down sample made in Portugal that's in the air right now coming to me.
Cool.
There's a Cordoba's boot that I ordered then that's coming to me pretty soon.
Cool.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they? Yeah, brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah. And so and so I figured out, and for my wallet too, I figured out 2024 is going to be a no buy year.
Okay, good. Yes.
I'm going to be tempted.
Yes. I completely understand that. I'm at a point now too to where it's like for me to buy boots, I need to sell some off, and it breaks my heart to part with some of these boots because they are so special. But it's like, yeah, I'm well over 100 pairs now, and it's just I can't wear all of them in a year, even if I wanted.
And I think that I'm going to do long-term reviews about how I've had them for a year or 2 years, but it's a cheat because I haven't worn them all that much.
Right. There's that too. It's like almost to a fault. It's like we want to speak with authority as to how these wear long term, but when you're juggling a rotation that large, it's almost impossible to dedicate enough time to them, which leads me to a couple. I wanted to kind of ask you about what you think about the stitched down patina Thunderdome. So these are my custom craft. I have been, let me tell you, I've been wearing these 2 pairs of boots. So these are my Truman's in natural horse rump, and these are my custom craft in I believe russet harness, German made. And I've been wearing these. I've been taking 1 day off a week to not wear these. And so today I'm wearing my Grant Stone field boots in walnut bison, but every other day of the week it's been these for the last 4 months, and they're wearing in great. But man, like, and I love these boots. This is nothing against these boots, but having this rotation, like, I'm just looking at my other boots and I'm just salivating. Like, I want to wear them all so bad, but I can't because I'm trying to actually dedicate myself to the Thunderdome.
That's me. I haven't entered the Thunderdome exactly because of that.
Yeah.
There is no way I can wear a pair of boots for 6 months. I'm not sure I can wear a pair of boots for 2 months.
Exactly.
They're like you say, you look around your collection and go, I haven't worn those for a while. I've got to put them on just for the morning. I'll come home at lunchtime and change.
Exactly.
But you kind of reintroduce yourselves to them, and you haven't worn them for about 3 months. You put them on again and you go, wow, I forgot about that. They really feel good, or whatever. And I think one of the things is, I say, people ask me, what are your favorite boots? I said, no, I don't have any favorite boots. I can't pick them out because I love them all. But I do have favorite boots. There are those that I wear more than others. And then sometimes I'll open a drawer where I've stuck a boot and I go, I haven't put these on for a year. I've got to wear them.
Yes, I can wholly relate to that. Absolutely. Yeah, I get the question sometimes, and I hate to answer it because really my favorite boot, it's like answering what your favorite food is. Like, it just depends on your mood. It depends on nutritional requirements for the day, honestly. And so to pick a favorite, it's like saying pick one food to eat for the rest of your life. I can't do that. In fact, my wife asked me.
I think I'm I think I'm a bit, I'm like you're the same as me, is that I think we might have favorite brand. Like you have, Truman and Grant Stone and Bordon. So I have favorite brand. The other boots I feel like they need a turn.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like in class, you have your all A students, and then you have like the students that are struggling. And when I was in school, some schools that I was in, I would notice the teachers it would be one of two things. They'd either pick the A students constantly, or they'd pick the the underperforming students constantly. And if they did that, then that would hold the A students back. But if they picked the
Yeah.
those students in the back of the class would never catch up. So it's like, what do you do? It's the never ending question of what to do. So
I have to say, I like you, I love my boots, but I think I'm getting close to having to really give them to good homes. You know?
absolutely. And there's no shame in that. At this point, I think the makers understand. Like I feel that guilt. Like, you know, at a certain point, I have a loyalty to some of these guys because they are my friends and I don't want to sell their boots and move them on. But at the same time, it's like I'm doing the boots a disservice by holding on to them and not wearing them. So let them, you know, sometimes true love means setting it free. You know, let that dove fly off into the wilderness and prosper, you know. And I have done that, and I'll tell you what, it's very rewarding to see my friends repost boots that I moved on to them, seeing them live another life on Instagram. It's very fulfilling, actually. I love it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy when that could happen, because otherwise they
Yeah.
just on my wall. So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're different, aren't they? They're not like stamps or baseball cards where you put them under glass and, you know, they look good. I think with boots, you have to wear them to appreciate them, don't you? You know?
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, I've considered the idea of like a boot museum, but no, you're right. They are. I sort of look at them as living things, and they do have to have a life. I think they do have to get worn. You know, I actually got into. I'm kind of a history nerd. I started researching like, you know, old Civil War boots, old Revolutionary War boots. Believe it or not, you could buy that stuff on eBay still. There's people that sell modern recreations, but you could also buy like legit
Oh, wow.
like 200-year-old boots. Like people are willing, they're expensive, and they're, you know, they're in pretty bad disrepair. Like you wouldn't want to use them. But yeah, it's like they're in such a tattered condition they wouldn't even qualify to be on display on a museum. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's not what you would think. You know, when you go into a
yeah.
museum, they have everything. It's so opulent. It's so set up so nice that, you know, it's on full display for the public to really get a good idea of what that garment looked like. But if you were to put one of these in a, you know, it just looks like some of these boots, they just look like an old tattered piece of, I don't know, bacon or something, like meat, like just meat that's been sitting out for decades, which essentially is what it is. But you but yeah, so it's one of those things. I agree with you. It's not something that should be just on display in your house. It's not one of those things. It's something that you should actually actively be wearing. I think that's sort of the healthiest approach to boots, I think. I wanted to ask you, how are you liking the Scout backpack? Have you gotten use out of it yet? Oh, you got it right there. Yes.
I'm loving it. The smell pervades the room. I'm loving it, Del. Absolutely loving it.
Awesome. Good.
Design, packs everything. It's been with me on 2 trips. It's been on a plane. It's been in the back of my car.
Okay.
Still coming up good. I mean, it takes quite a lot to really break in the leather. It's brilliant. Love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great design.
Thank you for uploading that video, by the way. My mother-in-law was in town and we were driving back from the Gaylord. We do this every year. We go to the Gaylord. It's this big ice exhibit in DC. It's like a famous hotel. And on the way back, I saw the notification that your video uploaded. I'm like, oh, we're watching this. And so I had my wife hold up the iPhone. I'm driving, and everybody in the back seat, my mother-in-law and the kids, they're watching this video, and I'm like just beaming with pride and happiness.
It was a totally unplanned video. Like I'm shut off for the year. I was having a vacation. I just wanted some time off. Not going to get back on until in January. But the backpack arrived, and I've got to upload this.
Well, thank you so much. And coming from a fellow creator, I can tell you, I understand when you need to unplug and get a break. So when you're in that mindset and to make a video when you're in that vacation mode, it says a lot. So thank you. I that does not go underappreciated. Trust me.
I loved it. Loved the backpack.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to make. I still have that same model for sale on my website. So if anybody's interested, you know, not a shameful plug from our website.
100% recommendation. 2 thumbs up.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been using mine. I've been wearing my own backpacks for about, I want to say 2.5 years now. And yeah, just trying to field test them, pressure test them. And yeah, even, like my standard expedition pack,
Yeah.
these things are good for if you need if you really need a large capacity. You could load these things up because it's a roll top. You could load those
Yeah.
things up and not even close them, and just
Yeah.
when we go on trips, my stepson, he'll just load this thing up with clothes and not even close it and just walk around like that. I'm like, hey, it works, so
Yeah. But I mean, handmade, hand cut,
yeah.
that's a craft. That is a
Yes,
craft.
yes, it is, and it was a lot of trial and error, and but being into boots, I really wanted to start making my own stuff. I started to feel like detached from it in a way, and being a content creator, there is sort of this disconnect. Like I've thought about this. I kind of want to go shadow some cobblers or shadow some bootmakers and just watch how they do it and maybe help them
Yeah.
out. That would really help me sort of close that final gap on my understanding of boots. That's why I had my buddy Mike on recently, because he's so smart that he kind of gets the whole process just from a almost like an academic level. Like
Yeah.
he understands like every little step without ever having done it himself.
Yeah.
Weird. I can't do that. That's not how my brain works. I actually have to be there and like watch it happen. So, but I've considered doing that. But yeah, I wanted to get my hands on some hides and just see what I can make with it. So it's really fulfilling to see
Oh,
using
look,
some
I
stuff I
think,
make.
like, as I said in the video, the innovation that, what you no longer have a stitch down the front. It's a
Yes.
T-shaped fold. The innovation. But then,
Yeah.
I mean, that is very precise stitching, Dale. That's
Yeah.
just really great stuff.
Oh, thank
And how long have you been doing them? Just about a year, isn't it?
Yeah, about 2 years, but
Yeah.
I'll give you a little clue. It's actually quite easy to get a straight stitch line if you're doing it by hand. Um, I'll grab one of these. Actually, I'll grab my. So this is a stitch prong,
All
and
right.
yeah, and so what I do is I score the line down the edge, and it's just
Right.
straight. I use a compass.
Right.
It's just straight, and then I just punch with a hammer.
Yeah.
Grab Mjolnir here.
Yeah.
You just punch with that hammer
Oh, wow.
all the way down, and it just creates a perfect stitch line. And if you're doing it by hand, it's almost impossible to mess it up. Now, if you're using a machine, it's very easy to mess it up. And so that's why, like, with some of these hand welted Indonesian boots, they look so perfect. Like, here are some Renavs in
Yeah.
and you see the welt, just how perfect it is. And it's because it's
Forty.
melted. Oh,
This is
nice.
a focus. Not sure the light you can see, but the double stitch on the welt there,
Yes.
so precise. I mean, these guys. You see videos of these guys, and Nick's been there, so he can tell you. But
Yeah.
they're poking them through, they're stitching, and everything's precise. Jab the needle into wax so it goes through easily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long it takes.
On a boot, believe it or not, it wouldn't take that long. It would probably take you.
Oh,
It might take you like 45 minutes to an hour per boot.
wow, really? Hmm.
Yeah, which honestly isn't. If just thinking in terms of how long I put into a bag, I put a good 40 hours into a bag. I do have my wife helping me out now with like simple tasks, so she really takes like a ton of workload off me, which is great. But yeah, to do that stitching, it does take a lot longer than a machine, but it doesn't take as long as you might think. Like to do that bag, I could stitch up the sides of that bag in a night. Like
Wow, right.
throw on Netflix, and I'm like the old lady that knits her Afghan blankets. It's therapeutic, and I could just bust it out in a couple hours. That whole stitch. So, and it's therapeutic. Like I literally, it's so relaxing to stitch. It sounds weird, but I don't feel like it's work. It's meditative in a sense.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
to create and to work with my hands. So
yeah. You're in the zone.
yeah, you get in the zone. You get in the zone. So, but yes, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the bag. And yeah, that is Seidel's Oxblood double shot. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the double shot, because that is Seidel's version, their iteration of Chrome XL, if you will. It's a chrome tanned, heavily oiled. leather, and so I have a few thoughts, but I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts, like because you've had a lot of Chrome Excel, and now you have some Seidel Oxblood, or sorry, double shot in your rotation. Now I kind of wanted to get your sense of like how they compare.
Well, I'm not sure I have a preference because although they're tanned similarly, I think they are different. When I got my very first double shot, which I think was a Park, somebody told me, "Oh, double shots are a beefed up Chrome Excel," which it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's a if you click Chrome Excel really well, it's a beautiful leather and makes a beautiful boot.
Yes.
It can be terrible if you click it badly because of the loose grain and look really ugly. Beautiful, and it just beautiful. Expands a bit, so it fits to your foot. I'm finding the double shot. I don't want to choose between one or the other, but I'm finding the double shot as a tougher leather. It feels to me not as oily.
Yes.
Not as packed full of oils, and the pull up is a little less obvious, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a tough leather. It's a really. I would take double shot where oh, hello. Hiya. Is that a bunny?
Yeah, she's got her bunny. She just woke up.
What's the name of the bunny?
She decided she had to bomb the video, so she likes to bomb all my videos. So.
Yeah.
It's okay. You could bomb all you want. No, I agree. And I heard this on Phil's podcast recently with Nick Horween. They do the it's called the Full Grain podcast.
Of course, yep.
Full Grain. And that's I find his talks with Nick Horween to be so illuminating because Phil is like he's a maker and he's also friends with the Horweens. And so, but he also has that curiosity that I have about the leather. And so he asks Nick questions and he picks the maker's mind almost from the consumer perspective. It's really illuminating. Anyways, Nick was talking about double shot versus Chrome Excel, and he said something that I do agree with. He said that double shot is not Chrome Excel. It's still chrome tanned. It's still made in a similar way, but it's not exactly the same product. I think double shot has a firmer temper, and I don't think it's been shrunken down as much as Chrome Excel has. I get the sense, because I think Chrome Excel is shrunken by 30%. I don't think double shot is shrunken as much, maybe 20%. I feel like Chrome Excel might be cooked, if you will, at a higher temperature because it is so much more, it's more oily and it's more malleable, whereas the has that firmer, a little bit firmer temper. So it's I love both, but they are slightly different products, and you could tell, as soon as you get the double shot, you could tell. I've not had it on a boot yet, but it's not going to crease as much. I don't think it's not going to form like these tight ripples. Possibly it might roll a little bit more, have more of this rolling effect as opposed to this rippling effect. But that's just my thought. But yes, I kind of want to get your sense on it too, because they're definitely not the same thing, but they're in the same. They're like cousins, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you twist my arm, appearance aside, I think my Chrome Excel boots are slightly more comfortable than the double shot. They give a bit more.
Yes, just a little bit more malleable. And again, I think it's because it's probably cooked at a higher temperature. That's just my sense. I've never worked at a tannery. I'm just trying to apply like my my insight to it. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you about. So I asked you about Stitch Down. Thank you, by the way. That's one thing I would, it comes up amongst us creators, like, who's in the Stitch Down Discord? Why are they not? I subscribe to Stitch Down Premium, but I don't get into the Discord very often. Yeah, I do the Thunderdome just to participate. I want to sort of highlight this competition. I feel like it's really good for engagement. I feel like it's a good way to bring the community together, and I think Ben is doing something really good in that way. But yeah, like I just don't have time to get on the Discord and talk. I mean, I just don't have the time. Like, it's not that I don't want to, I just don't have the time. And I'm sure you're probably similar to me. You probably have on Instagram asking you sizing questions. It's like, to keep up with all of it.
I'm also slightly technically challenged by the Discord. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on and which thread I'm following.
Yes. I know what you mean there too. Yeah, it takes some plugging to get used to the new format. So, but I am excited because I know that you haven't had shell yet, but you are about to get some shell, right?
I am.
Okay.
I bought a pair of shell cordovan indies from Ellie, the Heritage Tribute on Instagram. You know, Ellie, you're selling a few pairs of his boots. Great
Yes.
guy.
Great guy.
So that'll be my first shell cordovan in the Indies, and
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Haven't been able to afford them before, so buying them off Ellie has sort of made it cheaper for me. Like
Yeah.
before then, my most expensive boots were probably Vibergs or a Whites at $700. So that's kind of been my limit, because by the time you get that into Australia, $700 is like 1,300 Australian dollars with taxes and everything else. So to get a pair of shell cordovan, I'm really looking forward to, and particularly indies. You know, there's been a lot of hype about what they're made of, and you know, they're not real leather in the insole or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're comfortable. They
Yeah.
are comfortable.
Oh yeah. They're phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a pair of 403s, which I love, and Ellie's also sold me his 405s, which is, you know, obviously.
Nice.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So what do you think about shell?
Oh, you know, I have a love and a hate relationship with it. So from a leather perspective, it's not a great material in terms of like comfort. It's truly not. It's also stuffy. It doesn't breathe as it does breathe, but it doesn't breathe as well as something like this does, in my opinion. These are some of my favorites. Grant Stone brass boot and
That's
McDermott.
done.
Yeah. If you get the size right, they are still comfortable, but it's just not a practical leather for day to day wear. It's truly at home in a dress shoe. That's, I think, where shell truly sings. I think that's where it mostly belongs. That said, I still love it. It's just, do you have an affinity for high gloss,
Yeah.
super tight grain? It's just super duper tight. Whereas something like Chrome XL, it's not tight. It's just so forgiving.
Is it hard to care for?
No, not at all. Not at all. All you do is get some Venetian shoe cream and just
Because I've seen you, I think those boots, I've seen you abuse on a hike.
yes. I wanted to seriously push these and just bring out their raw patina. But I just bought a tub of Venetian.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's great. It's what Horween recommends for it. And you just rub that in and buff it out, and it just fully restores it to a beautiful gloss. The waxes really fill in any of the scratches or anything, abrasions that might have, taken place during the wear. And yeah, Venetian, I mean, it's a really simple process to bring shell back. Yeah, I love it. It is the Rolex. It is the Apex. It's the most expensive. And so for that reason, I respect it and I love it. It's just not something that I want to wear every day. It's kind of a crown jewel, and you don't wear crown jewels all the time.
Right. So what would you say are the pros and cons?
Let's see. Pros, they look great forever as long as
Great shine.
Yeah, very glossy. So those are some pros. The cons are, if they're not sized exactly right, then they're not going to be that comfortable. If they're too tight, they'll never stretch. If they're too big, that shape will never change, because shell is just it's so tight grain, and when they pull it over the last, it better be lasted properly, because if it's not, it's going to retain its shape like this forever. The only thing that's going to change is going to be the rolls that are going to form. It's the only thing that's going to change. But like the fit and the size of it, there is no give anywhere. So it's going to retain that shape forever, essentially. Unless
You're scaring me, Dale. You're scaring me. Because the Indonesian bootmakers love their shinky, especially the shinky shell. The Indonesian bootmakers love it.
Yes,
And it looks like it's quite a dressy leather, isn't it? But they're using it on work boots and mock toes and
yeah, definitely. There's some shinky horse butt. So the horse butt is not exactly shell. It's got other areas of the hide in it.
Layer above.
Yeah, in fact,
is that the one with the honeycomb?
Yeah, it's got the honeycombing on there.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, that's shinky horse butt Vibergs, and my favorite part about it is the scuff off effect that you get.
Yeah.
The paint comes off fairly, and then you start getting these undertones. Absolutely love it. This is much more of a day-to-day wear boot compared to shell. You wouldn't like shell, even if you wanted to, you'd get sick of wearing shell every single day. You know what I mean? It is the crown jewel of leathers. I understand why it's so coveted. It's because it's rare, and it is so the fibers are so dense that if you were to stress it, it would not, it won't stretch. It'll crack before.
Well, in the Middle Ages in Spain, they used it as armor.
Yeah, for good reason. I wouldn't have want to gone up against those guys, that's for sure. You're not going to pierce that armor. Actually, I could grab this. So this is Mariam TPR horse rump. This is a side of Navy TPR.
Right.
And so you can see the shell. It's
yeah, you can. It's been cut out of it. Yeah.
So this
cool
dense area. So like this part a little bit more floppy.
Yeah.
Fibers looser, a lot more breathable, this part of it. But then when you get to this part, it's stuffy, it's tight, it doesn't want to much. So it's a lot more of a cartilage. And that's why I say on my channel, I get mixed reactions, but like that's why shell, I don't consider it fully a leather, because it's more of a membrane or a cartilage.
Membrane, yeah.
You can see it. I mean, it's not exactly skin, you know. This is this is skin. This is like something else. It's like what your ear, the cartilage in your ear almost feels like.
So tell me about TPR. What is TPR? There's a layer of something on it, right?
Oh yeah, it's thermoplastic resin.
Right.
It's a finishing resin that they put on the top that achieves a really glossy appearance. So and you can see that.
And how does it crease?
Let me think. Do I have any boots in this? It creases like any standard leather really would. TPR horse rump. I know I have some somewhere. I'm not sure. I think it creases like a standard leather. But one thing I kind of wanted to ask you, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, because we all have our indiscretions. But there are rumors that you are Nick's father. I'm not a detective or anything, but Nick, you heard these rumors, vicious rumors around the internet. The internet won't stop talking about it. By the internet, I just mean myself. But I managed to pull up a picture of Nick's biological. I'm just not seeing it. Like, you mean to tell me that this guy is Nick's father? I'm sorry, but Teik, I mean, you have a chance now. You can come clean.
There is a family resemblance, right? Now, it's a weird coincidence, because Nick's father actually is from Perth,
really?
Where I live, and he's moved across to Brisbane, which is kind of like Los Angeles moving to New York, like literally the same distance.
Wow.
And so there was a time when Nick was in Brisbane that I almost went over and met him. But there's a bit of a rivalry going on between different states in Australia, as I'm sure there is in the United States. And Queensland it used to be well known for its banana growing state. So we call them banana benders, because the height of employment is a lot of Queenslanders bending bananas to put them into the crates. That's Australia.
That is so cool. And that's one thing I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, because I noticed, in your videos, as an American, I'm so intrigued by Australia. I've never been, but because of you and Nick, I decided to start doing some historical research into Australia, like the colonization and all this. What I found, it's very fascinating, because I saw on one internet comment once, it was sort of like a jab towards Australians, saying that they were a penal colony originally. And so I was interested in, what are these prison colonies essentially? And I started looking into it. And in England back in the 1600s, instead of putting their criminals into jails, they would ship them over to Australia to set up basically a penal colony. That was how they got things going. And they would have, these were the people that would be doing all the work and, establishing the land, establishing the agriculture, the infrastructure on behalf of England. But then I found out something very interesting. Australia was not the original penal colony. There was one that
Virginia.
Yes. the Chesapeake.
But Virginia failed because people kept getting lost.
Exactly. When I heard that the Chesapeake was the original penal colony, I had to pause for a minute. I just had to think about it for a second because that's where I live, and I'm like, that makes so much sense. There's such a mix of locals, we'll say, around here, and where I live in particular, it's a small suburb outside of Baltimore called Glen Burnie, but among locals, we jokingly refer to it as Glen Dirty. And if you ever visit, you'll see why. when I when I heard that the original, and I'm talking about the original colonists here in the Chesapeake was a prisoner colony, I just thought, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we laugh about it, but it's tragic, it is a tragedy because
yeah,
you had England sent 12-year-old kids out
yeah,
to Australia
yeah.
because they stole a loaf of bread. And the
Mhm.
choice was either capital punishment or going to Australia. I mean,
Yeah,
it is really quite tragic,
yeah.
what those days.
Yeah, it was sad. It's fascinating to sort of just rediscover it all because I'm the victim of public school, Ohio public school, and I never learned any of this. We just learned like basic talking points about history. I never got into the super in-depth stuff, and that's why like listening to you, like I'm fascinated by language, by dialects, by accents and things like this. How did the Australian accent become what it is? Why doesn't American sound anything like British anymore? It's so fascinating. And I read through Captain Cook's entire voyage logs, like the entire thing. And it was really interesting hearing him come in contact with some of these indigenous groups to different regions. I mean, he went circumnavigated, I think, South America and came
Yeah.
to Hawaii, came to Australia. One
South
thing,
Pacific. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. One thing that struck me is when they landed in Australia for the first time, they saw Aboriginals like on the beach. And
Mm.
here they come rolling up in this massive ship, and the Aboriginals were like, looking for turtles, and they didn't even look up at the British. And the equivalent would be like, an aliens landing on your front lawn in a massive spaceship, and you not even looking up and acknowledging them. I thought that was
Yeah.
really interesting. I'm like, here's this group of people that you've never seen before. Like it's a new race, it's a new technology, and you've never seen it
Yeah.
before. You're not,
There's
not
a I don't know the detail, but there is a neuro brain theory that
Mhm.
what you're unfamiliar with, you don't see, because there is a similar story about explorers going into Alaska initially, the first explorers, and
Okay,
the Inuit in the canoes running into the ships because they were so big they did not see the ships. They didn't recognize them for ships. They didn't, it's just out of their sight because
yeah,
it's so foreign, So,
right.
so in the brain there is something about. I mean, we might be seeing aliens. We're just not acknowledging them.
Right. We wouldn't recognize them for what they really are, probably, which are actually interdimensional.
Unless they're wearing boots,
Yeah.
and then we'd admire them.
Let's be perfectly honest. They can have this advanced technology all they want, but once they look at our boots, they're going to be like, okay, humans have it figured out. Okay.
But I have sticking with Australia. I have a bone to pick with Nick because he said, there are no boots in Australia but RM Williams.
Okay.
Not true, according to my research.
Right.
Little known brands, and a lot of them have gone out of business because I think the economies of scale, they've been manufactured overseas and then they went out of business because
Yeah.
Australia went through a phase in the 70s and 80s in particular where we just, it was cheaper to import everything,
Right.
so we bought American boots, we bought British boots,
Yeah.
but boot wearing is actually quite a tradition in outback Australia because obviously you have to wear work boots.
Right.
Obviously, the Blundstone.
Ooh, yes.
Everybody in North America knows about the Blundstone. It's a typical Australian work boot. We don't have Nick's or White's work boots. These are the sorts of boots that the tradies wear on construction sites. This is soft toe, but you can get a composite toe.
Okay.
But apart from that, we've got the other types, and I don't have a pair of mongrel boots, but this is a redback, similar. It's heat sealed construction. They
Okay.
put a tube of polyurethane into a mold and squash it into the boot, and the heat seals it, so it's waterproof.
Okay.
If you're in a construction site, it'll last you a year
Wow.
before it's totally just. But
Yeah.
it's Australian $100. You
Wow.
know,
That's
so
awesome.
it's a rock rooster in America. There's 4 or 5 different types of work boots like that. There is,
Yeah.
of course, the RM Williams, often in leather or calf skin, but this is in Chisos Stead's tobacco suede. Beautiful boot.
Wow.
Typical
Nice.
sort of chiseled toe.
Yeah.
But little known is they also do round toe.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Turnout, Vibram Commando. So lots of them. And you're a red boot fan, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
You love your red boots.
I have an
Little
affinity.
known, RM Williams do lace up.
Really?
So this is called Warwick, the Warwick color. It's a yearling, super soft. The calf is killed at a year old, and I'm guessing it goes to the meat trade as veal,
Yes.
veal steaks.
Yeah.
Super soft, but it's red, Vibram, absolutely and 270-degree Goodyear stitch and all of
Okay.
that sort of stuff. This is their current lace up, the Rickaby. I love this boot. It's a
Wow.
solid, heavy boot.
Yeah.
V-bar, so very, very comfortable.
Nice.
Chisos Stead tobacco suede again. I recently discovered these, the Ian Harold boot. Now, this is theoretically Australia's oldest bootmaker.
Really?
They established in Australia a little bit later than Baxter Boots. They're Australia's oldest bootmaker because they went back to England from the Middle Ages, and they sent their son here in the 1830s, I think it was, to start a factory in Australia to send boots back to England.
Cool.
Chelsea boot, but I love this. It's a Chelsea boot with a protected leather flap. So there's your rubber goring,
Yeah.
but there's a leather protecting flap that ties in around the back.
I've seen
Some of these are made in Australia. Some
Yeah.
of these are made in Vietnam.
Really? Okay.
So another Australian boot made in Vietnam, service boot. This is from the Thomas George collection. Stitched down, double stitch down stitch. Charles F. Stead navy suede. This is what they call a Frio boot. Frio is short for Fremantle, which is the port city of Perth. So it's designed after a Australian World War II service last. So I'm sure the construction's a bit different. Stitched down, very, very lovely model. The people who make this brand is the Thomas George Collection. But the people who make these, they've been well known in Australia for doing a shoe tree or boot tree called Trimley, very highly regarded. And they started going into boots, made in Vietnam, unfortunately. RMs are one of the few that are made in Australia still. And you guys have the same thing. You know, you've got American boot companies that are making boots in Costa Rica, Mexico. You know, it's the world economy these days.
Yes, exactly.
People look at Grant Stone, and I get a lot of comments on my videos about Grant Stone. Oh, I won't buy it; it's made in China. And I get it. There is a political influence to it, but if you're talking about not buying Grant Stone because of the quality, go shoot yourself.
Right,
it is
exactly.
top quality. You know,
I completely agree. You're so right. You know, analyzing the industry, even there's some American makers that I've learned recently that aren't actually made in the United States. They actually do outsource to Mexico. Some are more open with it than others, like Chisos. They're very open. Yeah, they have a great relationship with a workshop down there, made in Mexico. Not gonna lie, we outsource the production. It's, you know, it is what it is, and so you could charge a cheaper price for that. I hate to keep using this analogy, but making boots is like making sandwiches, and so you could take ingredients from all over the place and put it together anywhere, and your end product will be what it is, you know. And that's part of what makes the industry so fun. That's why looking at boots and analyzing where they're made and the construction methods and the materials and the stories, it makes it endlessly fascinating. It's why we have channels that can delve into this in such depth, is because it is so multifaceted. I love seeing how small shops can make something just absolutely insanely good quality. I love seeing how one man can make something of such great quality, like Creosote. Dennis at Custom Craft, that's one dude, you know, that made this whole thing. All German materials, to my knowledge. Yes, thank you, because I'm not that familiar with RM Williams. I've watched your videos, but I didn't know there was other Australian boot brands. So that's really cool. I had a talk with my one buddy in Brazil, and yeah, they have Brazilian boot brands down there too. And even my cobbler Sonny, he just started a side job working for a company called Made Plus right in Annapolis down the road, and they're making sneakers made to order. And so he's sort of like, they hired him on to be a basically a production manager there because of his
Oh,
expertise.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so we're making shoes right down the road. They're sneakers, they're not boots, but it's so cool. You could make quality stuff anywhere. And I agree. This made in China thing, it's like made in China doesn't mean cheap. And if you really hate made in China, guess what? Throw your iPhone away because you think that thing's made.
Yeah, yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult
Yeah.
because there is a political element.
Yeah.
And here in Australia, we're at the front end of political China influencing the South Pacific with the road. I don't know whether you've heard of the Belt and Road program that they have, where they invest in South Pacific islands, build roads for them, and so on, and hope to tie them in to the Chinese ecosphere.
Okay.
And that's a threat. That's a threat to Australia. I
Yeah.
get that.
Mhm.
But I don't think we can transpose that sort of thing into the quality of goods. When I was growing up, Japanese goods were a laugh.
Yeah.
They were coming out of the war. They were terrible. You laughed about Japanese toys, and then Sony came along and Toyota came along, and things change.
Yes.
And the quality comes from, I've always said as a management consultant, the quality comes from not from
Exactly. It's really that simple. I mean, I like the way you put that. Process, not geography. It's that simple. Look at the product. That's why forget where it's made. Look at the product itself. Is it good? You can tell your eyes.
And totally. Yeah. And look, if you want to buy a $700 Alden made in America, which is made in America, it's not constructed in Costa Rica and then brought back and finished.
Right.
Buy a $700 boot.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford a $700 boot, then you're going to have to buy a $200 Thursday made in Mexico, which is a good boot.
Yeah. They're awesome. They're awesome. Got my captains right here, in fact.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
My first American Goodyear welted service boot. Love it.
Yeah, they're great. $200? Are you kidding me? This is awesome for $200. Absolutely. Oh, actually, I have these. My buddy Pablo worked on these Thursdays. They started out with, as a standard Thursday build, with the standard Thursday sole. But my buddy Tommy actually sent these boots to Pablo to reconstruct, basically, and he did a knockout job on them. So
is that a Vibram?
Yeah, Vibram honey lug.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's screwed in too.
Yeah,
wow.
Screws in there. I mean, replace the eyelets with the solid brass eyelets. Did a bang up job on them. Yeah, that's Pablo in Canada. That's another thing. Like, I'm meeting people all over the world. It's just having a blast.
Which is what one thing I wanted to ask you was about going to the Stitch Down boot camp. What was that like?
Oh, it was overwhelming, honestly. It was 2 days. I didn't even sit down. I don't think I ate. I just drank beer, then had some absolutely delicious chocolate stout on tap at all times, and just talking to people. It was overwhelming. You'd have the same experience if you came. Would you ever be interested in going?
I'm hoping to get there this year.
Oh, really? Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Crossed.
Yeah, it was.
I have to talk my wife into it.
Yeah.
she can go shopping while I go to boot camp.
You would be surrounded. It was overwhelming because you're meeting people. They come up to you and you recognize their username from Instagram. Once they tell you, but like if they don't post their face, you don't know who they are. And it was just go the whole time. It was a blast. It was an absolute blast. It was a really coming together moment, I think, for the community. I think you'd really, really enjoy it. I think it would be
I'm sure.
a life-changing experience.
I'd love to go.
Yeah. Steve Vito was just there, just walking around, like kept his head low. I'm like, that's Steve Vito. And like him and I, we're friends. We talk occasionally. He's just a super authentic guy, like yourself. Like, just you see him on YouTube, but he's just a down-to-earth dude, truly. Like, he doesn't have an ego about him. He's not, he just wanted to go and just like enjoy the event and just keep his head down the whole time. And that's what he did. And he people hounded him the whole time. And, you know, he was just kind of trying to do his thing and just kind of shop and meet different makers and stuff. And, but it was unreal. Nick showed up, your son. I mean, sorry, not your son here. It's alleged, but not confirmed. Sorry, I need to quit. I need to quit with these. They're vicious. They're unfounded. They're cruel. But I might keep going with it because it's so much fun.
I've been watching the videos and your video as well as Ben's.
Yeah,
loads of people, lots of great stands, and people were making boots and all sorts of things.
Yes, they had workshops for people to hand welt, like just walk up and fill in your time slot and just go hand welt boots. Just fantastic. Yeah, it was overwhelming, but very fulfilling to just get everybody in one spot and just nerd out just for a weekend. It was great. Yeah, Pablo was there. Javier of Pereira Boots. You're going to be reviewing some Pereiras here soon, aren't you?
I'm hoping to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guatemalan made ones. Yeah. Super cool. Just meeting all these makers, different tanners. Nick Horween couldn't go. Phil Callis didn't go this time, but I think they're planning for this year because this last one went so well. So yeah, I would imagine though for you it would be kind of expensive, kind of an expensive endeavor.
Yeah, it is. And it's also probably not a great time of the year for me because of work. Like that is quite a busy period for us.
Okay.
But it's a weekend. If we can get a week away, you know, we haven't been overseas since COVID. So if I can talk my wife into it, we're there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, speaking of your wife, behind every great man is a great woman. How does she put up with your boot addiction?
She laughs. Look, I've had boots before, and in our life, in my married life, the boots I had were the Timberland iconic yellow boots, and she knew I liked. But then I bought the Thursday Captain, and when they arrived, she said, "Wow, those are really nice." I said, "Well, get used to it." Yeah. And as they kept coming, I think her phrase now is, "I've lost touch. I have no idea what they are." But she will provide me with, "I like those." Yeah, I'm not sure about those. and you know, we have long debates about which laces go with which boots, and your kilties, you know, do they fit those boots? No, I'm not sure they add anything to those, but put them on those.
Yes.
This is Fortis from Indonesia.
Ooh, yes.
So this is John the Happiness Carpenter's collab with them.
Yeah, that's right.
So my very first lace to toe, and I've put on your kilties, except they're brown chrome XL. I just turned them rough out.
What?
I think they're fantastic with them.
Awesome.
Dr. Sol, very comfy boots. I love Fortis. Well, they were the second Indonesian maker that I got onto. You probably know that I did that collab with them, the Strider.
Yes.
Named after Aragon from Lord of the Rings. Super comfy. Vibram's wedge sole.
The Sahara.
Indonesian burgundy rough out.
Okay.
And then my latest collab with them was a Chelsea boot with a real cap toe. And what I wanted out of this was a protected goring. So this is leather covered. At the time, I didn't know that these actually existed, but I just said to him, look, can we sort of cover them so that the goring is protected? So we came up with this, and he came up with another one, a green crazy cow, I think is from Charles F. Stead, but I haven't got it with me here. It's gone on to somebody that I hope is going to appreciate them. It should arrive in a week or so.
Cool.
We'll see what you think about it. When I'm going with boots, and the same with Cordobas, like you showed your Cordobas a bit earlier, these are fantastic.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I like using local leathers if we can. I think this is Albratos from Lafargue.
Okay.
Albratos leather.
Yes.
And same with the Fortis, that I like using their local leathers, because I think if you're going to buy an Indonesian boot, why buy a Chrome XL Indonesian boot? Why not buy an Indonesian veg tan boot?
Definitely. You're right. Like most of my Indonesian stuff, actually, I don't think I have any Indonesian specifically sourced leather, but this is Cordobas's locally sourced. I believe, yes, this is the same leather as that other one, the Albatross.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's similar to Chrome XL in a lot of ways. It's
yeah.
oily, it's chrome tanned, it's natural. Cordobes, they're doing something phenomenal down there.
And
Small,
there are look, there are faults. I
yeah,
mean, I think if the light's not great, but if you looked at the leather,
yes,
it's not sanded perfectly evenly, right?
right,
You
right.
can see the layers of leather.
Hmm.
Handmade boots,
Yeah,
and I like seeing them with the
yes,
Indonesian boots. These guys take fine sandpaper,
yeah,
wax it up perfect,
yeah,
which is great. But these, I think, are just as valuable because they are handmade boots.
yes,
I,
exactly.
I want fault.
Right. I want imperfections. I want to see that.
Yeah.
It's something that a human made it, not a robot. Eventually, everything will be made by AI robots, but for now, we still have humans doing work. Yeah, I agree. Yes, and that's one thing I failed to notice in my review was the sort of warped leather, but it was deliberately done this way. In woodworking, we call these shivs. Like they're just little
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
little angled,
Just to adjust.
yeah, adjustment pieces. And working with veg tan, it is woodworking essentially. You're sanding it, you're playing around with it because not every piece is the same or is consistent. So you have to work with the grain, you have to work with everything to get it into a good shape. And yeah, they did a great job. Yeah, I personally like to see that. I like to see those, like the way that they sanded out these angles here to make them fit. That's cool.
Absolutely. And when I do reviews of, say, the Indonesian boots,
Hmm.
people like in the comments, oh, I don't like to order through Instagram. I
Yeah,
wish they had a website.
yeah.
And these guys are working in a bicycle shed,
Yes.
basically.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's exactly what it
So,
is. No
you
air
know,
conditioning. No Starbucks next door.
yeah, they're sitting on the floor stitching.
Literally. Like you see inside the workshop and it's like, oh man, and look at what they can make, So
I know.
it's
Yeah,
just phenomenal work.
yeah.
These all day yesterday. Oh, I
That's
miss.
beautiful. Which one is that?
This is the Renav Goods engineer boot on the
Engineer
A11.
boot.
I helped
That's
them.
beautiful.
Yeah, I helped them design this bump toe last for the engineer. It's an 8-inch engineer and it's in shinky brown oiled horsehide. Same as the Vibergs. Yeah, same leather. So,
Oh, if I rode a motorcycle, I'd want those engineer boots.
oh, definitely. And these just have the coolest patina happening. So, anybody that wants to win the Stitch Down Patina Thunderdome, get brown oiled shinky horse butt T-core leather. And because every time you wear them, you're going to get rewarded with.
I like the folding at the ankle.
Yes, yes, that's one of my favorite pieces too. Yeah, that
Yeah.
that part. Speaking of, international, these are my Willie's boots in black wax
Oh,
wallpaper.
Philippines.
Philippines, exactly. Look at that. Look at how much the
Wow.
black wax wore off.
Wow.
So crazy. Willie is a great dude. I really like that guy. People,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Olive, Mariam. Oh, there's Mariam TPR.
Yeah. They crease fine.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. It's hard to tell because the vamp is so covered up by a kiltie and other stuff, but yeah, it breaks in just phenomenally.
I,
So,
I have to say I'm not a fan of monkey boots, but those look really good.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I think I made a post on these and they did kind of go viral. I think I got over 1,000 likes on it, which is a lot for me. So, I'm not,
Thousands a lot.
yeah, yeah, I'm not some e-girl, posting selfies. I'm just posting boots, so I don't go as viral as some of them. Truly lightning in a bottle with this pair. I love these. Definitely in my top 10, I'd say. Speaking of tops, I know we don't like to talk about our favorites, but like, what are just off the top of your head, like your favorite recent brands? I'd say, like your favorite recent discoveries. Like
Um,
I know you mentioned Fortis, that's definitely in it, and Cordobes, absolutely. Are there any other ones that like just kind of jump out at you? Just
Caswell.
oh yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
Caswell. Kevin is a great guy, I think,
Oh
and he's coming up with some fantastic designs.
yes.
Oh yeah, beautiful. I have the original. I think it's a Lisbon.
Ooh, awesome.
I love it. It's a great design, great last. I think Kevin's put together the elegant design from, say, an Alan Edmonds or something like that into a rugged boot.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect marriage.
Definitely.
So yeah, Caswell has struck me. That's probably going to be, if I get through 2024 no buy year, there'll be a couple more Caswells coming. I think Christian Daniel.
Yes.
You've got Fernando, and you've got yeah. So you've got his Fernando, I think, in the maple.
Yes.
I've got it in black. Wow. I love this boot. I just don't wear this enough. It's comfortable. It's a great last.
Yes.
And then you've got this too.
Yep.
And I think, like me, you were a bit surprised that Wicked Crate Russet isn't red.
Yes.
But I think this is great. You know, my first impressions of this went up this morning. And one of the comments somebody put in was, oh, it's very derivative. This is like a Viberg 2030.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting question because it's a service boot.
Yeah.
How do you make a service boot different?
Yeah, it's, I guess, use a different last, but I mean, yeah, and I agree that is similar to a 2030. I do agree.
It is a different last. It is a different last. It's got the brogue cap toe. Sure. Lots of boots have a brogue cap toe.
Right.
You know, today, oh, there you go. You know, how similar is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's similar.
Today, we've got service boots, we've got Chelsea boots, we've got laced toes. How do you make them different?
Right. It's almost impossible.
It's a bit unfair to say they're derivative because once you've got a service boot, you've got a service. Yeah. It's the comfort, the last, the materials that go into it. Right. You know, is it hand lasted? Is it Goodyear welted? Is it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah. Yeah. These are Santalums, and nobody came out of the woodwork accusing Santalum of being.
Yeah.
This is. Yeah. I mean, that looks like a Viberg. You know.
Have you heard of Luos Jet?
Yes.
I think it's Luos Jet.
Yeah.
Very derivative of Alden's.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But hell, it's how do you make a different boot these days?
Right. And I agree. I have some friends that have ordered some Lewis Jets. I actually had a buddy who he bought some and brought them to my attention, and my buddy Mark, and he let me take them in for a review. And yeah, I was getting some heat on that video because yeah, they are very close copies to the Alden Indy, but at the same time, you know, I just wanted to talk about them. I had some people saying, why would you even talk about them? Because they're such, you know, exact knockoffs. And I'm like, I mean, it's not going to be 100% exact. It's close, but
yeah. I mean, Parkhurst, I have to say, my favorite brand. They had the Niagara boot, which you can say is a knockoff of the Alden. Yeah. But it's not. It's different.
Exactly. It's different in a lot of ways. I completely agree. That Niagara is beautiful, by the way. I recommend that one. If you don't want to spend Alden money, get the freaking Niagara. The thing is killer.
And I say of Parkhurst's service boots, either the Allen or the Richmond, if you don't want to spend Viberg money, get a Parkhurst.
Right.
Great leathers, great construction.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to invent a totally new design to make a new boot. You just have to get a great last, made well. Yeah. And service people. Exactly.
The Luos Jets, they're using a Chinese leather. They're using, I believe, Chinese outsoles. So they're not using the same materials. Yeah. They look like an Alden Indy, yes, but yeah, like you said, the Niagara also looks very similar to the Alden Indy. But who has complete dominion over a mock toe? You know, with a collapsed toe? Like who has that? Nobody does. Like anybody can make. Again, with the sandwich analogy, go to any restaurant in Baltimore. You can get a burger. You can get a Philly cheesesteak. Yeah. Nobody's criticizing these restaurants for knocking off other people's food ideas. It's like just all they sell what's popular.
This is how late is it and how many wines? I'm into coffee.
You gonna be able to sleep after that coffee?
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Okay, good. I'm sure you're that exhausted after days of hard work.
Just wanted to show these off too.
Ooh, yes.
Dale's leatherwork.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Is that the Hojine horse rump, Mariam TPR?
It is, yep. And I'm not sure what this one is, Dale. This is the one you sent with the...
Yes, Hazel Sedgwick. It is my favorite
super
belt.
Thick.
Yes, it's super thick. And actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll have to make a belt one of these days.
Wow.
This is Hazel Sedgwick, the same stuff your cuffs are made out of.
Is that the same one that's it's a giveaway in Christian Daniels?
I don't know, maybe. I didn't see it. I didn't see what he was doing, but yeah, this is Sedgwick. This is English bridle leather. Isaac at Pigeon Tree Crafting uses mostly this, and so I started
It's
making.
just such a beautiful, like thick leather. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, firm, great temper.
Yes,
Smells good.
I agree. It like I'm able to make the cuffs off of the tail end of when I cut the belt. I keep the remainder of the blank because it just makes for the most beautiful cuff. I mean, it
Yeah,
really takes the shape of your wrist.
sure does. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just it's
yeah.
heavily waxed. It's an English bridle leather, which is very hard to make. They can't make any hide out of English bridle because it is thick and it's just the waxiest, chock full of waxes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. I love the stand up. Yeah, I want to say it's about 12 ounces, so it's a fairly thick.
Right.
I'll have to make you a belt one of these days. Send one over. Have you,
I'm not telling you my measurements.
yeah. Oh, trust me, we're in that same boat, my friend. Fortunately, I wouldn't need that waist. I'm sorry, but
Vanity sizing only, right?
yeah, exactly, vanity. Actually, glad you bring that up because I tell people to order their size based on their vanity size, and then what I do is so let's say you order a size 32. That's my size. What I do is I add 2 inches to the 32-inch mark, and I'll take it to the 34-inch mark and make that the center hole, and then I put
Yep.
yeah. So
That's brilliant.
yeah, yeah. And then what I'll do is I'll do 7 eyelets typically, sorry, 7 holes. On this I only did 5, but I'll do 7 total holes around that single hole in the center. So if you truly are a 32, it'll still fit. But if you're like me, who I wear a 32 vanity size pant, which is actually a 34, and yes, they're
Yeah.
stretch because well, I need a little extra room. Oh, my waist is probably more like 35 inches. I don't know. I don't want to find out. So
Yeah.
actually recording this, I'm trying to fast. I'm trying to do 24-hour fasts and just eat dinner.
Right.
I am trying to cut down on my weight a little bit because
Right.
it's getting, I'm not Nick at Stridewise. I don't just eat chicken, I do enjoy my carbs. So
Yeah. I cannot do a pistol squat.
I see that. I'm like, how's that even?
Oh, no, I know. How is that even possible? Why do you even try it? Come on, Nick.
In denim, in non-stretch denim. I'm like, yeah, you want to see me break my back? Yeah, I'll try that.
Show off.
Well, speaking of, so you mentioned exercise. I kind of wanted to kind of delve a little bit more just into your life in general. What do you do for exercise? Just curious.
I try to keep fit. I walk every morning with and without my wife. I'll go for a 2 kilometer walk every morning. And every evening I will do some form of exercise. I'll either go for a run. I run about 5Ks when I go for a run, or I'll go to the gym and do some weights, just light stuff. No guns.
Yeah, fine.
I just weights just to keep the bone structure going and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
every evening I'll do some sort of exercise.
Okay, very good. We need it, especially, over 30. Any of us over 30, well,
Yeah.
they should probably exercise their whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very, I'm light framed, and I've been very skinny all my life. But once I hit, I would have said probably late 40s, I put on a beer gut. That's what men do, I guess. So I had to be very conscious about keeping active and burning enough calories to sort of match what I was putting into my mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate. No judgment here, trust me. Yeah, I'm very conscious of my diet, but I do eat a lot of I do eat carbs. I do love bread. I do love tacos. I love, all that stuff. There's only one thing I won't eat, and that's a white potato of any form. So French fries, potato chips, none of that, because that will bloat me out like nothing else will. So that's my one no. Like that's just the one thing I won't eat. Everything else is fair game. So, but yeah, we do a lot of sushi. We do a lot of Mexican, a lot of Vietnamese. I love my pho.
Right.
So I'm guilty. I have a bike in the other room that I try to sit on for an hour, probably twice a week, and just do fat burn. It's low impact I don't put it on a super high impact because
High intensity.
yeah, I'm just trying to sweat, just trying to burn fat. And
Yeah.
so that keeps me in moderately decent shape. But if I'm being honest, like when I get serious about weight loss, I know what I have to do. I have to be hungry.
Yeah, you do.
I
So
don't.
tell me about the Baltimore food scene.
Oh, it's great. It is great. And actually, I wanted to ask you a question about that since we're on the subject. So we have what's called Little Italy in Baltimore, and it's just a little neighborhood of Italians, and it's been there since basically Baltimore. I think it's been there for like 150 or 200 years. Previous to the Italians moving in were Jewish community, but the Jewish community moved out and dispersed to other areas. But so the Italian neighborhood, Little Italy, has retained itself. Now, COVID did wreak havoc on it. Some of the iconic restaurants shut down, unfortunately, like Aldo's. It's where Robert De Niro would eat when he'd come in town. And there was some other ones, but there's still some that are open. I have a buddy, Joe Benny, who runs a focacceria well, he shut down too, unfortunately. But basically almost a 200-year-old focaccia recipe. But yeah, truly Italian food, like truly the stuff you'd get in Italy, some of the same stuff. And it is just as diverse as you would get in Italy, because every place you go in Italy is a little bit different because they're following their own particular traditions. And so yeah, we have really good Italian here. Also have a lot of really good Asian food. We have a Korean restaurant, Jakum Sung, right down the road that we go to. My stepson's half Korean, so he's always excited when we go there. He has an affinity for kimchi, let's say. A lot of really good burger joints. A lot of decent sushi, I'd say. But yeah, one of my favorite restaurants was this place called Woodbury, and that was like the first true farm to table restaurant that I'd ever been to.
Okay.
And yeah, picture like eating in, I don't know, at a farmstead in the 1600s. That's what this food is like. Like
right.
Yeah, they source it all locally. All the cows, they form relationships with local farms, and everything is just grown here. And so you could go there, and whatever you order, it's like from within 40 miles, I'd say. Fresh. If you show up at 4:30 when they open, they're unloading the truck for today's menu, and they don't know what today's menu is going to even be. They print out the menu for the day like right around 4 because they don't know what they're going to be making that day. It's crazy. So
Love it.
Yeah, a lot of really good food around here. Yeah, unfortunately, COVID just wreaked havoc on a lot of it, but I'd say in 2018, 2019, you get really good options around here. And that was one thing I wanted to mention to you. I don't know how this sort of content would translate to the boot community, but I've befriended a lot of the Italians in Little Italy. I was thinking about doing like a Little Italy series on my channel, like interviewing some of these older folks that have been here for a long time and just get their stories out. But I don't know sort of the reception, how popular it would be. But there's not a lot of content out there on YouTube about Little Italy, so I kind of wanted to help tell the story a little bit. But yeah, so what would you think? Would that be something that would interest you?
I would watch it. I definitely would watch it. I think the boot community, I think, has different stratas. I mean, I'm getting a lot of comments about why you're reviewing bags. Okay, I get you. That's you, and there's a strata.
Yeah.
But I think the boot community is interested about people who wear boots and what they're interested in. I think, anyway. I mean, I've got an Instagram follower of mine, Rudy Hurtado, contacted me on Instagram and said, you mentioned Leon a couple of times, and I just wanted to let you know I'm a Leon native. So I'm going to have an interview with him, not about boots, but about what Leon is like when he grew up, and what I should visit when I go and to Leon, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And to me, it's what I'm interested in. It's not just the boot, but it's bootlosophy.
Yeah.
What surrounds the boot. And if you can tie in your love of boots with the Baltimore scene, I'd watch it. Easy.
Cool. Okay.
And,
awesome.
and I think there might be a strata of people who go, and you're going to get comments like, what the hell are you doing, Dale? This is not a boot. But there are others who are going to go, this is interesting. I didn't know that.
Right. Right, exactly. And there is such a rich history here, and I really want to help tell it if I can, because I've tried to find resources on local history, and they're kind of scant, like we do have Edgar Allan Poe, we have Fells Point, which is amazing. You could go visit the Edgar Allan Poe grave. That is one of the coolest cemeteries you'll ever see. I mean, probably outside of Europe, but it is.
I didn't know Edgar Allan Poe was from Baltimore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Really interesting story there. Yeah. So, but thank you. That might have been the motivation I needed because I'm nervous about it because it's a departure from my normal stuff. But I love talking to people. I love interviewing people. I love people, and I like to get their story out. And so that's kind of the idea behind it. So I think thank you. That's the motivation.
I'm interested. I've interviewed Andrew Sabisco from Parkhurst. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
But you mentioned a few things about upstate New York, and so I immediately went into YouTube. What's New York like? The forget New York City. We all know about that. So right. I think if you can, I think people are. How can I say this? People are interested in stories wrapped around what you're interested in.
Absolutely, I agree. That's really at the root of everything behind my channel. Has always been about telling the stories of the makers, the people. It's not just the product. When you understand more about their stories, you have a more enriched experience when you wear the product, when there's a story behind it. So very cool. Thank you. That's Teik management consultant, ladies and gentlemen.
It's one of the things, I mean, when I started my channel, I looked at it from a consulting point of view, like, I don't want to talk about, this is an R.M. Williams, that Charles F. Stead comes from England, and look, it's Goodyear. Well, I wanted to talk about the history of R.M. Williams, why R.M. started making these, where Charles F. Stead stands in the tannery world, what's behind them. And that's why I particularly like these new bootmakers, because I can interview them and say, what got you started? Why are you interested? And to me, that's a lot more interesting than, count the stitch.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what's so much fun about making this content is there's so many avenues you can take. That's why I love picking your brain on it, because I know you have like the same interests that I do. So there's so many potential courses of direction that you could aim your content at. And part of my thinking is maybe non-subscribers will be looking for Little Italy content and find the video, not necessarily to subscribe, but like to hear this guy's story or to hear this lady's story about growing up in Little Italy. And so if I could in any way, I think bring some of that narrative to the internet, I think maybe the world will be a better place and we'll have world peace.
I agree. Yeah. And the more we know about the world, the better.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. Speaking of, so because of you, I was really researching the Aborigines in Australia, and wow, so fascinating. And believe it or not a lot of content out there about them. So, but what I was able to find is they have what's called, what's it called? Okay, they have what's called the dream world, or the dream
time.
Dream time, yes.
Dream time. Mm-hmm.
And that was the time before humans came into it.
It's their creation story.
Yes, exactly.
So it's I guess if you get biblical terms, it's the Old Testament.
Yes, exactly.
So it's, in 7 days God made the world. They have their creation story about beings who came down to earth and mated with human beings and created landscapes and so on.
Wow.
Which is why they're very, very tied in with landscape. Now, I catch a lot flack about my acknowledgement of country.
Yeah.
In Australia, we have a cultural protocol that now becoming accepted, that there are traditional custodians, not owners, not First Nations owners, custodians of land who care for land.
Yeah.
And become accepted that they welcome us, in ceremonies when we go to, imagine if you go to a Cubs game and a First Nations man stands up and welcomes you to country. That's what happens in Australia. And people who go acknowledge country and say, I acknowledge this is a Wajak country or Gadigal country. Our national broadcaster does that, a news program.
Okay.
Go to the R.M. Williams website, rmwilliams.com.au. Scroll to the bottom. there's an acknowledgement of country.
In-
Our governments acknowledge country. So when I acknowledge country, it's done. I get so many comments, oh, you're woke, and what was that?
And I see that too. You know, growing up in America, we only speak English. You know, we're required to take other foreign languages. That was always my passion, was to learn foreign languages, because ultimately I am interested in other cultures and languages, and I always have been. And yeah, and that's why I'm interested in the Aborigines as well, because you know it's just another people group that I've never met one in my life. You know, I've watched some interviews with them. I really want to get to know, like, I'm just inquisitive. You know, it's not a matter of being woke or whatever. Like, ever since I was 14, I've been studying. I started German. I got into Russian, Arabic, Spanish. You know, my oldest daughter, she lives in Puerto Rico with her mom. So I'm always about, like, I genuinely want to know about other peoples and cultures, because you know what? They know stuff that you don't, and we're not gonna have as rich of lives if we don't explore that. You know, I think about how bland my life would be if I just ate cheeseburgers and, you know, all the time. Like, no, I love sushi, I love pho, wontons, and everything that other cultures are able to bring to the table. And it's not virtue signaling.
I went to an international school. There were I think 32 countries represented in the school. It's a scholarships.
Okay.
And one of the things we were taught was understand each other. Because if you don't, that's when wars.
Yeah, that's the truth. Conflict arises not out of understanding, but out of lack of understanding, I think. So, and starting to see another group as polar opposite to you, when really there's so much common ground. Like, come on, if you just have a conversation with somebody, you figure, you know,
it is totally fine, and you should be patriotic, but not to be blind.
Yeah, don't be blind. Exactly. I remember, you know, even when I go back home to my hometown, I'm an anomaly because I'm multilingual now, and you know, people don't know what to think of me or do with me. Because when I turned 18, I was headed for the hills, man. I was out. Another cool thing that I learned about Aborigines, and again, this is probably very basic stuff to you, but I watched a documentary recently, and it said, before the documentary started, it put this big caveat on the screen. It said, some of the people mentioned in this documentary are no longer alive. And it's because Aborigines they don't speak of the dead, I guess? Or
Correct. Yeah. Okay. When somebody dies, you don't speak the name. So if somebody dies, you use their nickname that they might have had in life.
Okay.
You don't use the name. In very, very traditional Aboriginal communities, they will smoke the house, they will remove all the furniture and destroy it, because nobody else really should use it, as a sign of respect, and that name can't be used again. So that's why they warn people that images of deceased people will be coming up, because we'll watch, obviously, but let them know that, you know, maybe they should turn away.
Wow. That's so cool. I love learning this stuff. It's and I could see it both ways. You know, like in America, we honor our dead by talking about them and showing pictures and sharing memories. But in their culture, you don't do that. I don't know. It's probably painful, or it's out of reverence, I guess, respect. So, but very cool. Very cool. Do you have like many, you know, a lot of the Aboriginal people, right? The Wajit people?
Yeah. That's the Wajit people are in Perth.
Okay.
I've done a lot of work because of my profession. I've done a lot of work with Aboriginal people since the 1980s.
Wow.
Up in the West.
Okay.
So I can't remember exactly how many, but there are hundreds of nations in Australia. And we talk about language groups rather than tribes, because they do speak different languages. And it's not a dialect, it's actually different languages across Australia.
Wow.
And my work and my familiarity is with the north of Australia. And because of my work with them for such a long time, I do know a lot of national Aboriginal leaders who I'm privileged to count as friends, have been taken with them. You know, some of them are highly educated people, politicians, senators, professors at the Australian National University. And some of them are still traditional and take me into ceremonies and so on, which I'm absolutely privileged to attend.
Wow.
And, you know,
that's awesome.
It's very hard to say to somebody who hasn't been to those that these are things that are not different. They are things of respect.
Yeah.
And a
Absolutely.
lot of people will say, "Oh, look, this is modern 21st century," and whatever. Not true.
Yeah.
We all come from something that we respect.
Yeah.
Christian church,
Hmm.
Catholic church. You could poke holes at it and laugh at it, but you
Yeah.
have to respect.
Right. I agree. Respect is the only way forward, I think. That is so cool. That must have been a world-changing experience to attend some of those ceremonies. I could only imagine. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm always so interested. Like I said, there's just not that much content out there into some of these, especially remote cultures. I found a couple of channels recently. Some of these guys, they go into like deep Africa, like uncontacted tribes, and meet these people and like show how they're living and try to talk to them. They'll get like a local guide that can sort of translate, and it's like, and you can do it all on YouTube. I love it.
Yeah,
You
I
don't have
tell you what, there are people still living today had not met a white man until the 1970s.
what?
Living in Came out of Central Australia from the desert,
Wow.
like lost tribes, I guess you'd call them,
Yeah.
that had not met white men
Wow.
and saw planes in the sky and didn't know what they were.
Really?
That's mind blowing.
That is, oh man, that is so cool. Like, I love it. I love it. It's so cool. And I think what's come to me, the realization that's come to me through studying history is so much of it we feel like has been lost, but it hasn't. If you go to some of these communities, they're living the same way that they were for hundreds of years. They haven't lost their traditions. Like they're still alive. There have been some linguistic efforts to like track down some of the last native speakers of certain languages before they die. Like literally, once this 95-year-old person dies, this language is gone forever. And so they'll like interview them, tell them to sing like some of their childhood nursery rhymes that their mother sang to them, and that way it's like not forgotten. And it's just so cool to preserve that heritage because we all come from a heritage, and so it's important, I think, to sort of codify it for posterity because unfortunately we're not all around here forever, so I think it's important to sort of preserve some of the traditions. But yeah, a lot of them are still very much alive, like you're saying. Like, there's some groups out there, I'm sure, that are living the same way they have been for thousands of years. So it's not lost. The modern internet and everything, we think we're in a new era, but in many ways we're not. In many ways people are still living the same way that they have for a very long time, and they have those same cultural norms, same traditions. And so I hate to veer off boots so much, but like that's what really I wanted to learn more about you and more about Australia.
Well, you have a love of history, and I've learned that over the time. But that's exact, and if you say you're veering off boots, that's where boots come from.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
history.
Yes, absolutely.
The Goodyear welt is new.
Yeah, it's a brand new thing.
Before then.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to highlight my love of history, here we go. This is a
wow,
thick,
beautiful.
Yeah, I just ordered that off Etsy. Brass. Yeah, it's that's how they used to explore. They didn't always have GPS. No, I'm trying to figure out how to use.
Where do you plug that in?
Let me see. Is there a USB outlet somewhere? No. Afraid not. Yeah. Let's see. I got some kind of cool compasses too, like nautical compasses from a
I see. Yep.
a local shop. Yeah, pretty neat. But yeah, I just
beautiful.
Leather work, this is a craft that's very old, and part of the way I see it is I'm honoring tradition by doing it because I was in Virginia at one of the original colonies in Virginia about a year ago, and there was a guy with a leather stand. He had a leather apron on, and he had all traditional tools. Believe it or not, I recognized every single tool that he was using. This is stuff that goes back well beyond medieval times. He had mallets, he had rivets, he had needles for stitching, and he was a leather crafter, leather smith, if you will. And he was, doing it in time-honored traditions, the old way. Like I said, I recognize every single tool on his bench, and that was like an aha moment for me because it's like, okay, I'm doing things the old way. I'm not using electronics and stitching machines.
Let me ask you something before we run out of time.
Yeah.
I get the traditional leather working. in terms of boots, where do you stand on introducing modern materials, foam and so on? Where do
Yeah,
you stand on?
I don't like it. I don't like synthetics. But there is one thing I will say. This stuff is awesome. This is barge cement.
Oh, large cement. You're okay.
And when you
Yeah.
get a new pair of boots, you know how you open up the box and it just has that
Yeah.
smell? You're actually not smelling the leather. You're mostly smelling this stuff.
Is that why I'm high most of the time?
That would be why.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I don't know whether I stand on, let's stick with tradition, leather, cork,
Yeah.
or do I go, the world moves on, and if you can find a better material, so be it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I understand completely. I don't like foam. It doesn't breathe good like leather does. Like, for example, these custom craft, I mean, truly made the way of old. Veg tan, the only modern material is this heel cap that's rubber. Everything else in this boot is traditional materials. There's no foam, there's no synthetic inserts or anything in here. And I could wear these all day, and I have for months. My boot breathes beautifully. It walks beautifully. It absorbs the heel strike beautifully. Like I'm a total convert to the old ways. Not to mention, I think this outsole's Black Forest Veg Tan.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and as you can see, people that hate on leather soles, this hasn't worn down
Oh, I
at
love them. Yep,
all.
yep, yeah. And you can't explain how you just can't explain how comfortable it is to settle into a leather sole construction as your feet settle in. It really is comfortable, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
But then again, this is where I'm torn,
Yeah.
because for a newbie,
Mhm.
you get into your Thursday boots with the pour on, and it's just like the shoes you're used to, right?
Right.
It's just like your sneakers.
Yeah.
So how do you say to them, or is it, it's not as valid an experience as if you stood in a pair of white?
Yeah.
Because for them, it's a valid experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it. If you came out wearing mall shoes, Clarks, Thursdays, yeah, there's going to be those synthetic pour-on inserts and everything, and yeah, they're comfortable. Like, sneakers are comfortable, but I mean, once you graduate, oh, sorry, my daughter's playing video games. This here, I'll show. This will be a good demonstration. All right, so this is my medium insole. See how it starts out flat? Now, this is after just about 3 days wear. You see how it is yours and is yours forever? And this material breathes, it moisture wicks. Synthetic stuff traps all the nasty stuff. They claim it's antimicrobial. No, it's not. This stuff is antimicrobial. This stuff breathes naturally. It's skin. Your skin, it interacts with the environment. It clears itself out. All you need is some ozone on it. Ozone will kill all the microbes. Just let the leather do its thing, and it's a natural material. Yeah, exactly. And it is part of a more brilliant design than I think some of these synthetic materials are. So yeah. So that's a long-winded way of saying that. But you're kind of torn on the pour-on stuff.
Look, I am. I had a commentator say, I think what he said was, look, I've got a pair of Thursday boots. Yeah, they're really great. And on your recommendation, I went to Grant Stone. Oh man, it's hard. And I said, look, have patience. Let the leather move it. Oh no, it's too hard. Tell me something, another pair of boots that's like Thursday, where you feels like sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
It's two different experiences, isn't it?
Two completely. We're comparing apples to oranges at that point. We're not even speaking the same language at that point. Yeah, I agree. It's let me see. I have here we go. Nick's swashbucklers. Now, these were hard to break in, but man, just wear them for a week. Just give it a week, and it will become yours. Is this stuff stiff at first? Yeah, but that's a good sign, because as you work on it, you're creating a custom boot for yourself. Only you.
I'm thinking back to my original wear, and if you go back to what were your sort of first boots? They were Aldens and Ralph Lauren's and things like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking back to my first American Heritage boot, which was the Thursday,
Yeah.
comfortable. I wanted to go further. I
Mhm.
wonder what I would have thought if I'd gone straight into a Viberg or straight into a Nix.
Yeah.
Would I have gone, oh, this is not for me?
I got to give up right now. Possibly. Yeah, possibly a lot of guys are put off by those by the thick veg tan outsoles, the break in. I think that's why we have our channels to sort of, explain to people and educate people along the way and just share our experiences of how it all works, how it all comes together. Because I mean, let's face it, most people out there do not care about boots. Like they just don't. They're not boot nerds. It takes a certain level of inquisitiveness, I think, to get into this to begin with, and most people just don't care. Like even none of the members. That's why I started my channel, was because I wanted to just see if there was other people out there that were was as crazy as I am.
And there are.
And there's a lot. But it's not everybody. You meet one guy and he's the only guy in his family that's into boots. I'm like that. Like I'm the only guy in my whole family. Like nobody else wants to talk to me about boots. None of my coworkers want to talk to me about boots. My wife doesn't get it still. It's been what, 7 years. It's fun. We all have different interests and proclivities. That's why YouTube is such a great resource. Can bring all us nerds together from across the world. But thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day, coming on with me again today, sir. It was epic, absolutely epic. I hope to have you on again here soon. And yeah, I really appreciate it, my friend. Everything that you do for the community, keeping the interest alive, and taking the time to talk to me. It really means the world. So thank you.
I've loved this. I've loved the talk. Thank you very much, Dale.
Absolutely, my friend. All right, well, you have a great night's sleep.
You have a great day.
Thank you. And we will link up again soon, friend.